Fast Five is brought to you in association with the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. The A&M Consumer and Retail Group is a management consulting firm that tackles the most complex challenges and advances its clients, people, and communities toward their maximum potential. CRG brings the experience, tools, and operator-like pragmatism to help retailers and consumer products companies be on the right side of disruption. And Avalara. Avalara makes tax compliance faster, easier, more accurate, and more reliable for 30,000 plus business and government customers in over 90 countries. Avalara leverages 1,200 plus signed partner integrations to power tax calculations, document management, tax return filing, and tax content access. Visit avalara.com to improve your compliance journey. And Mirakl. Mirakl is the global leader in platform business innovation for e-commerce. Companies like Macy's, Nordstrom, and Kroger use Mirakl to build disruptive growth and profitability through marketplace, dropship, and retail media. For more, visit mirakl.com. That's Mirakl.com. And Ownit AI. Ownit AI helps the world's leading retailers advance their e-commerce shopping experience with AI. To learn more, visit ownit.co. And finally, Ocampo Capital. Ocampo Capital is a venture capital firm founded by retail executives with the aim of helping early-stage consumer businesses succeed through investment and operational support. Learn more at ocampocapital.com. Hello, you are listening to OmniTalk's Retail Fast Five, ranked in the top 10% of all podcasts globally and currently ranked in the top 100 of all business podcasts on Apple Podcasts. The Retail Fast Five is the podcast that we hope makes you feel a little smarter, but most importantly, a little happier each week too. And the Fast Five is just one of many great products that you can find on the OmniTalk Retail Podcast Network, alongside our Retail Daily Minute, which brings you a curated selection of the most important retail headlines every morning, and our Retail Technology Spotlight series, which goes deep each week on the latest retail technology trends. Today is September 4th, 2024. I'm one of your hosts, Anne Mezzenga.
And I'm ready to cook, and I'm Chris Walton.
Oh boy. We are here once again to discuss all the top headlines from the past week, possibly cook a quiche or something. And we're also going to
that far, Anne.
Yes.
Yes. I cook content. I don't actually cook, Anne.
That's good. That's good. Although you do make a good beef Wellington.
That's my wife, and my wife makes a good beef Wellington.
But you
I
do
make a
like
good
the
cream
spinach.
Yes, I make a good cream. I make
a
mean cream spinach. You're right. Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, anyway, we're here to bring you all the top headlines from the past week that made waves in the world of omnichannel retailing. And the reason that you have this great getup on today, Chris, Julia Childs Walton, is because we have a very special guest on the show. We have the VP of Original Content and Strategy for Shop Talk and Groceryshop, Ben Miller. Ben, welcome to the show. Please don't hold Chris's outfit against us. Although I'm looking at you now.
Ben, I don't know. Ben's got some garb on it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hello, it is good to be back. Thank you for having me. And look, in the week that Oasis have reunited, the most important retail transaction that I've done all week was securing myself a ticket to relive my youth before I was married with children. Next summer in Wembley Stadium. So in celebration of Oasis, I've got the bucket hat on. I'm ready. I apologize for it. Don't hold this against me either.
So Oasis song you most want to hear, Ben, since we asked that last week. What is yours?
Yeah.
Oh, what a great song. I love the first album. I love Definitely Maybe. Yeah. So give me Acquiesce or Rock and Roll Star or something from the old ones.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
He wants the deep cuts. Yes.
Something to bring you back to the 90s. I love it.
Of course, we're all going to have the Wonderwall sing along, but yeah.
That's right. That's the encore, right? I would assume. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. By which point everyone won't remember that it happened. Yeah.
Well, Ben, for those who have not yet met you, do you mind just giving the audience a quick background and a bit about what we can expect at Groceryshop coming up in just a few short weeks in Vegas?
Of course. Yeah, 4 weeks today. I will be heading out and can't wait. It's Ben, I'm the VP for original content for both Groceryshop and Shop Talk, which means I've got the honor of looking after the research and insight programs across our shows, which are all about bringing new research, new insights on the retail market to everybody who joins us, whether it's in Vegas or Barcelona or Chicago this year. at one of our conferences. And yeah, we've got our biggest and hopefully best grocery shop coming up 7th to the 9th of October. So really soon.
We can't wait. It's our favorite show of the year, right, Chris?
It is 100%. It's my favorite
Yeah.
show. It's my favorite show.
Yeah.
That's why I'm dressed the way I am, man, because like I just absolutely love grocery shop. I actually love Vegas too. I know you're not the biggest Vegas fan, but I do love Vegas, and I love everything that Vegas offers for the conference going crowd as well.
For sure. No, we love it. I do love the event. It's only certain things could get me to Vegas for this extended period of time, Ben, and Grocery Shop and Shop Talk are 100% those events that will get me there.
We are honored.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're excited too, because we're gonna close out the show with you on stage doing a live podcast again, recapping the show. We've got a great format planned for that, as always, and we thank you for that opportunity, because we love doing that with you and the whole team there. So thanks, Ben.
It's going to be a load of fun, and thank you again for joining us. I know you'll be podcasting throughout the show. We'll get you on stage a few times, and thank you for continuing to support and being part of the community.
Awesome.
We're looking forward to it.
All right, well, let's do this show. And I mean, Ben, sorry, Ben, I meant Ben, not Ann, but Ben, how many times have you been on this show now? I think this is your 4th appearance. Is that right? 3rd or 4th, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, I think this is the 4th, and then we've done some of the live ones as well. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get this show started. Like I said, I'm ready to cook. I got my oven mitt, my apron on, and let's do this week's news, because today we've got headlines on Ikea launching a peer-to-peer resale site, Netto Denmark rolling out Vision Group's smart labels to all of its 550 stores, Nordstrom crediting supply chain improvements for its recent sales performance, Instacart dropping its $7.99 delivery fee on next day grocery orders. But we begin today with the retail concept that no matter how much we try and get away from it, Ann, it just pulls us back in.
It just
That's
can't.
my Al Pacino impression, Ann.
Oh, I was thinking of like Little Shop of Horrors, where like he falls in love with the plant, This is like the Venus flytrap, right?
I just saw that play actually, and literally last week, like
oh my
suddenly
gosh.
see more.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sing.
You are too late, already done. Let's go to the headlines. Chris, headline number 1. Amazon Fresh has opened 4 new stores. According to Retail Dive, Amazon Fresh debuted 4 new stores on Thursday, including its first in Northern California, along with additional locations in Illinois, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. All of the new supermarkets offer Amazon's Dash Cart, automated grocery carts, and Amazon One, the company's palm recognition technology. The addition of the 4 new stores to the Amazon Fresh fleet brings the grocery chain's store count, to just shy of 50 locations in 8 states. Ben, you've got a dynamic and rich grocery background, and you're also going to be personally interviewing Claire Peters, the worldwide VP of Amazon Fresh at Groceryshop. So I'd love to get your thoughts on kind of what you think about these new stores, and if Amazon Fresh is a concept that the grocers in the audience at Groceryshop and listening to this program should be paying attention to.
Yeah, thanks, Ann. I think for me, there's 3 points that I'd like to make on this story. First is at a macro level, it's another piece of the jigsaw that continues to remind us about how difficult it is to build a e-commerce business in grocery without a physical store presence. A couple of months ago, we talked about Kroger in California and their pullback. People need to see and get the confidence in your grocery offer for that physical store. And even for Amazon, if they want to be in grocery, they've got to be in physical. And so it's going to be one of the big trends we'll talk about a lot at Groceryshop, is kind of the future role of the physical store. But this is another nice bit of that jigsaw. I mean, the second piece is that this is, I think, maybe the third story in the last week and a half about new Amazon developments in grocery. Amazon keep telling us that they're serious and they're not going to leave grocery, that they keep refining. I think even the most bearish should acquiesce that it's not happened yet. So what have we seen? Last week you talked about the new $99 pass, and I think you guys covered that really well last week. We've got these new store openings. There's also new news about expanding same-day delivery to some of their partner businesses in the US. Vice Markets and a Metropolitan owned by Good Food Holdings. And I mean, that's interesting. This partner project for Amazon Fresh is still small in the US.
Okay.
We've invited both Neil, who's the CEO of Good Food Holdings, and Greg, who's CIO at Vice, are both going to be speaking at the show because we want to explore it more. But if you kind of go transatlantic, Morrison's, Iceland, and Cooperative in the UK are all on the Amazon Marketplace, on the Amazon Fresh Any Food. That's like over 30 billion of sales. That's 15% of the UK grocery market in these partnerships. So yeah, the fact that there is still progress on that in the US, even though it's obviously much smaller chains, I think shouldn't disguise us to the scale of Amazon's intent and ambition in this space. But I still think everyone is questioning, what is the master plan for Amazon when it comes to grocery, in or out? And that's the number one. That's the big question that I want to ask Claire Peters during the interview and see what direction we get on that. When it comes to the new store openings, I mean, these are the latest iterations of the sort of the Claire and Tony stores. So Claire Peters and Tony Hoggett. From Tesco. Claire, I don't know. I'm looking forward to getting to know her, but Tony, I know from his Tesco period, incredible retailer, great operator. So I'm confident that the operations of the stores will be improving. I haven't got to see one yet. We're looking into the Illinois store in the next week or so and having a look, because the one thing I don't know and I haven't got the insight of is what's the merchandising like. It's the product and the merchandising that was probably the Achilles heel. So where are they on that journey? And that's the question mark. But yeah, I think that the signs are Amazon is still trying to make physical grocery work. But I think the proof will be in the actual product in store. And that's the bit I haven't seen yet.
Yeah. I'm excited to hear, like you said, Ben, what Claire has to say and just kind of what the logic is, especially when it comes to like, does this new rollout have to be, the blueprint for the rest of the stores, or are they still going to use these stores as kind of a test before they really go full bore in and across the rest of the US? But Chris, what's your thought here? Like, what did you think of? I kind of pushed for this story in the Fast Five this week, but as you've been ruminating on it, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, to answer the question that you asked, Ben, I think I'm skeptical of Amazon Fresh, and if I'm a grocer, I'm not really paying that close attention to it. I think the interesting thing that Ben said at the beginning that I think is fascinating. He said, shows how tough it is to do digital grocery without a physical store presence. I think this also just shows you how tough it is to do physical grocery well, regardless of your digital offering, right? It's just hard to build a physical grocery store that people want to shop, which goes back to what is the hook? Why am I shopping these stores? Which I think is the key point here. But there's a couple other things I don't understand too, and like, why is the rollout strategy so disparate? 50 stores across 8 states. If you double click into this, that seems like the wrong way to go about grocery, because scale is the name of the game, as we talk about all the time on the show. And secondly, why wouldn't you try and take a market that has been doing best with the concept already and try to scale it up? Which honestly, when I think about it in that context, makes me think there isn't a market that's doing well. And this is just an announcement to make it sound like the concept is still relevant at the end of the day, especially given all the headlines like Ben mentioned. So until I see the hook or understand why these stores are different and why I should shop them, I don't know. I'm just not buying it. The point that Ben makes about them being other retailers being on the marketplace in the US is interesting to me. Amazon could go that route, but I think that's a harder pill for the US grocers to swallow potentially than it is overseas. But I don't know. Maybe that's the route they go instead.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it still comes down to the headline being the technology. Like, we're reading about, yes, they're rolling out dash cards, and yes, they're doing one pound payment, but we don't hear about like what investments have they made in terms of produce and quality and sourcing and all those things that really, like Ben alluded to earlier, I think that's what really comes down to the success or failure of this concept is the quality consistent? Am I going to go there and find the things that I need? Just the basic elements of physical grocery, like you said, Chris, that we don't hear anything about, and I haven't been able to see yet, that I think is really like a key component to the success of this concept moving forward. And to bring back, what we were talking about last week too, Chris, with like Chick-fil-A, this is a totally, I think you can go into a QSR concept with like a Chick-fil-A and be like, we're going to be more efficient.
Yes.
We're going to get you in and out of
100%.
here. I don't think that you can apply that same thing to Amazon's grocery stores, which I think is still the leading headline in all of these stories. And that's not going to be enough for the consumers in the country, I don't think.
And your point is really good too, Ann, because I remember when we were rolling out Target's Fresh concept, which was a smaller scale grocery store, or trying to build Super Targets at the time, because I was still a part of that. It was very difficult to get the quality of products you want when you only have a few stores in a region, because the distributors are not going to prioritize you from a quality of produce and meat standpoint. So I don't know. Ben, any last words?
I think that the last word is if Amazon wishes to get to the scale that they desire in grocery, they are probably going to have to look to an acquisition. That's, I mean, the legislative environment to get that through, considering, you know, we still sat with Kroger and Albertsons slowly working through. Put that to one side. But there is no way that they're going to do that until they are confident that they've got a model that works. And this feels like they're continuing to work on how do we get this physical grocery model to work before we then make the next step of the investment.
Yeah. And I think we talked about that the last time you were on too. And the question was like, what national grocer at scale is actually an option for them? There really isn't one either when you get right down to it. So that's a tricky question too. All right. Headline number 2, IKEA has launched its own peer-to-peer furniture resale site. According to Yahoo Finance, IKEA is coming for eBay, Facebook Marketplace, and Craigslist. Good Craigslist mention. With the new peer-to-peer marketplace called IKEA Preowned. A lot of creativity in that name, man. The site is currently being tested in Madrid and Oslo, 2 of my favorite cities, with global rollout slated for later this year. IKEA Preowned allows customers to buy and sell used IKEA furniture directly from each other. And sellers on the IKEA Pre-Owned platform can choose to receive cash for their sales or IKEA store credit that includes a 15% bonus. And you're actually going to get this week's Put You on the Spot question from the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. And here it is. What do you believe is the biggest problem to be solved in the world of peer-to-peer secondhand furniture shopping today? And thus, what's the most compelling consumer selling point for IKEA Pre-Owned that will make consumers use it?
I mean, first of all, I love this idea. I think it's a great question from A&M. And I think that the key benefits here are, one, you have access to, like, if you're looking for new furniture, you want to, you have an IKEA thing that you need to replace or that you need to add on a new one to, or you're accustomed to an IKEA price point. Now, as a consumer, I have even lower entry point to get the quality that I expect from IKEA or the type of furniture that I need. So number one, I think it's convenience, being able to go to one spot and not having to search Facebook Marketplace, eBay, Craigslist, all the things. I can go to one spot. I know where I can get it.
If you just want IKEA furniture,
if you just want IKEA furniture, but
otherwise it's kind of a hamstring, right? It's kind of hamstring.
But I think, one of the key things here is I think that we forget sometimes that IKEA is a very affordable way for the majority of the country here in the US and the world to outfit an apartment or their first home or any of these pieces. Like it's so important that we have this option. And again, an earlier stepping stone into the IKEA market. I'm moving right now. And I can tell you, like, if I could search Facebook Marketplace and see how many times people are searching for IKEA things, I think it would surprise all of us because of the value. The last part is I think that 15% is going to make a huge difference. Chris, you've talked about several times like the stock up trip and how important it is to be able to go to IKEA to do a full stock up. And now if you have 15% off that you can use across the entire store, I think that's going to be a massive driver for people to participate in this program.
Don't steal my thunder, Ed. Oh my gosh. I was going to bring that up, but Ben, you're closer to Oslo and Madrid than either Ann or I are. So what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think I'd look at it from 2 angles. One is the IKEA angle. One of the things that IKEA have said during all the releases around this is that they believe 10% of the entire global second-hand furniture market is IKEA products.
Yes,
which is remarkable. And considerably higher than they're new. So there's like, there's a market there. Can we get into it? There is clearly it fits within their circular and climate positive by 2030 strategy. So that, yeah, which is super important, particularly in certain European markets. So we kind of buy that. It's sort of a logical extension of the buyback scheme that they've been working on, but it's also it's evolution that IKEA would be, and you guys have talked about, from a single market out of town destination retailer to a multi-format, multi-channel retailer. So I completely get all that. I mean, the A&M question is a really interesting one. Is the consumer logic, and I think that's a bit harder for me. And why? I've been on, I had to look at the Madrid site and had a go. It feels like you're shopping in an IKEA platform, but it is completely separate to the main IKEA site. So you're not getting that synergy of, I'd like to buy a Billy bookcase. Oh, hang on, I can buy this at this price, or I could also go into that marketplace. So
sure,
it requires shoppers to make specific journeys into the marketplace to do it. It's not integrated. So you haven't got the footfall of eBay or your other set or Facebook marketplace, but you're also not capitalizing on the footfall of the main IKEA site. So I think that's going to be a challenge. It needs to get people there on its own. They're obviously making it really easy for sellers to say, I've got this Billy bookcase, here's the details, and the UX displays photos of new product. It's got all the dimensions. You can use the digital tools that IKEA have developed to have a look at what this product looks like in your house. I actually found that a bit confusing, because I didn't know when I was looking at the new images or when I was looking at the actual photos submitted by the users. So look, this is all learning. I think kudos to the IKEA team, digital team, for bringing this. I think there's iterations. I think when I look at it, they've been very clear that this is a two-city trial, Madrid and Oslo. They're not taking any money from it yet. But in this trial, they're not taking.
No, they're not. You're right.
It's a data gather. So look, we'll see come the end of the year if they roll with it and take it globally. But what I do hear, I mean, one of the most popular keynotes that we had in Barcelona when we had our Shop Talk Europe just a couple of months ago was Lars Johan Jarnheimer, who's chairman of IKEA. And he talked about their culture of innovation, their culture of experimentation. Now, this feels like that. Great. Culture of innovation. They'd be really clear. We're going to learn from it. If it goes beyond these two cities at the end of the year, great. We'd love IKEA to come back and tell us next summer about how he's going. Yeah. But it might not. And the current iteration of the customer interface, I don't think is the one that you roll out. But I think we'll see, and I think all credit for giving it a go. That's my take. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, for me, and I'm going to go back to what Ann said before. So, Ann, like, now that because you are moving, to let the audience know, you're in the process of moving into a new home. Does that make you automatically think you're going to be in an IKEA here in the next month?
Without a doubt.
It does, right? 100%.
I absolutely do.
When I first read A&M's question and when I first saw the story, I was a little skeptical for the reasons, we were kind of peppering here, which was, number one, like, okay, do I want to just see IKEA furniture if I want to buy new furniture, or do I want to see the whole universe of furniture on a Craigslist, a Facebook marketplace? But then I got thinking about it more, and even though I was initially skeptical, I was kind of like, you know what, I think this could work. And to Ben's point, and to yours too, Ann, is like, this is the first stage. Like, it can get better over time. So the idea is, could it work? Is there a there? And I think it is, for the reasons I always say, is that you think about shopping at IKEA when you have the chore of outfitting your house, when you have a major life change that is preceding that.
Yeah.
And so those same people that are in that mindset to shop for pre-owned IKEA, that are in that mindset, are in the same mindset to shop for pre-owned IKEA furniture too, all in one place with the IKEA brand behind it. So I think it may be catering to an entirely different crowd than people that want to go into the store and see all the new furniture too. And it might be an audience that they're just not tapped into at all. And so I think for that reason, I think in the long run, it could steal share from the Facebook marketplaces, from the Craigslist, because I think that is a separate buying trip. But the psychologies of why I want to shop at IKEA could still exist for me as a consumer. But Ann, last word, you seem to be shaking your head.
Yeah, no, I think that's
in the affirmative.
that's a really key thing, Chris, is that like you're getting them into the IKEA ecosystem, and it's not just about that reused product that you're buying, but it also, I think, down the road allows you to like ping them with other ideas. Like you're got the reused Billy bookcase. We can still recommend the complementary products that you could buy inside of IKEA with that used Billy bookcase. Here are the things. Like I think it just allows them to kind of be, again, that earlier entry point. Maybe they don't want to splurge and spend the $200 on the bookcase, but they're willing to spend $90, and then they're using that extra money to buy complementary products from IKEA that may be used, that may be new, but it all comes down to like making the UX clear and searchable and easy for the consumer.
Wow, who knew IKEA Preowned was going to dominate the conversation today on today's pod? All right.
Oh,
well,
man.
Good convos. All right, let's keep moving to headline 3, Ann.
All right. Headline number 3, discount grocery chain Netto Denmark, owned by the Salling Group, is to roll out smart digital labels from Vusion Group to all of its stores. According to Retail Technology out of the UK, the Salling Group will deploy SES Imago Tag's smart digital labels and the Vusion Cloud platform across its 550 Netto locations from Q3 2024 through Q2 2025. In addition to enhancing the customer experience with clearer product information, the Vusion Cloud will also enable Netto to remotely manage and update shelf labels, improving price accuracy and efficient promotion execution across all stores in a secure environment. Ben, we're going to you first on this one. Netto Denmark has joined the growing list of retailers rolling out electronic shelf labels chain-wide. Are you a supporter or a detractor of the ESL movement?
I think a couple of things I'd say. Firstly, Salling Group. So it used to be Dansk Supermarket. They're a big deal. They are the biggest retailer in Denmark, biggest grocery retailer. As well as their Netto chain, they've got full service supermarkets. They've got full service hypermarkets. They run the Starbucks franchise in Denmark. So, Anne, I know you were in Copenhagen just a couple of weeks ago. So,
yes,
if you had a Starbucks, you would have been in a Salling store. What I think is really interesting is the Netto chain. So the Netto is the biggest chain, but it's a classic European discount format.
Yeah.
So it is. Look, these are 10,000 square foot stores, limited range, 3,500 SKUs, focus on private brands, low prices, traditionally quite basic shopping environment. It's an environment that's all about price and efficiency. Mm-hmm. And that's the place that this is being taken to. And I think that's really interesting because when you look at some of the retailers who are rolling out ESLs, Walmart in the States, Leclerc in France, now Netto, Lidl, these are stores with really strong price propositions.
It's interesting.
I think there is a customer communication proposition for your confidence in the low prices. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one. The second pillar is all those retailers are exactly the same, and they're all about efficiency and operations. Mm-hmm. So they wouldn't be investing if they weren't seeing a benefit to the operations of the store, whether that's in inventory management, whether it's the full Vusion equipment for shelf monitoring. So I think that is a strong message. And then you've got the third bit, which is the retail media branding marketing opportunity that comes with these latest iteration of the digital shelf edge labels. So I think it sits within that umbrella of new tech business cases are really hard to make, but if you've got one that ticks great, does something for the customer and the value proposition, does something for in-store efficiency and gives us an adjacent revenue stream all in one, then you can kind of see why there's momentum behind the DSLs at the moment. And I think, look, Salling Group might feel half the world away, but Walmart, their announcement in June of putting ESLs into 2,300 stores.
Yes.
I think little by little we're going to expect more of these announcements because there is a real momentum and it particularly feels to be a niche right now around really efficient price-focused retailers. Mm-hmm. And then for other retailers, there's a learning in that one. So I'm expecting to see more of this.
You're pro ESLs then.
At the moment, yeah.
At the moment.
You're on the train. You're on the boat.
Yes.
The train.
Yes, I mean, I think Ben, the one thing that I would add too that you didn't mention in your recap is the sustainability component. I mean, that was the thing that I was blown away by in Copenhagen, especially was like everything is about making sure that we're eliminating food waste, that we're making sure that we're pricing things correctly and pricing them to sell if they're close to expiration. So I think in addition to the price competitiveness that they can offer then especially in some of these places, like when I was in Copenhagen, there was a Fotech store, like the Walmart kind of equivalent in Denmark, right next to a Lidl. Like they shared an entrance, and it was crazy to me. And one had electronic shelf labels, one did not. But I think especially in that case, like you got to make sure that if I'm going to go to the left or to the right into one of those stores, that I'm going to be getting the best price possible, and that I can react and respond to that in real time. So I think this is just another example of what we have yet to come here in the US. But Chris, I'm going to give you the last word here on ESLs.
Boy, that's a really curious case study. I wonder if you could get Placer AI to look at the data of who goes into those stores after they put like the electronic shelf labels in side by side to see what's happening. I got to tell you, like I mean, everyone knows where I stand on this technology. If you've listened to the show for a long time, I've been a big fan of it, big proponent of it for a long time, going back almost 10 years now. But I think, Ben, you said something really interesting to me, which is like, I never thought about the through line of the low price, discount retailers being the ones that are leading the charge on this right now. And that is true. And the reasons you cited are you want to be right price and you want to have great operations because the premium for you is higher to get those operations well. But the other thing about that makes me jump on board even more is both those things are just basic retailing. You got to be right price and you got to have great operations. So this is a technology that enables you to do that. And the operational offshoots of everything you can do with these continues to grow by the number. So I don't know. I'm excited too. I mean, I'll do my grocery shop plug here too. I'm excited. I'm going to be sitting down with the executives from Save Mart, Giant Eagle, and Schnucks at Groceryshop on the last day of the show. And I know electronic shelf labels are something that those retailers have all looked at. So I can't wait to talk to them about how they've done that, how they got this past their executive team and their board to sign on and do the implementation. So lots more to come on this topic for sure. All right, headline number 4. Nordstrom this week credited faster supply chain operations for improved sales and CX. And CX, for maybe those that aren't in the parlance, is consumer experience. I thought that was interesting how they wrote the article. According to Retail Dive, Nordstrom credited CX improvements, including improved e-commerce search and more efficient supply chain operations, as major contributors to its 3.4% net sales growth. According to executives, more efficient inventory operations enabled faster returns and ensured popular items were available when customers needed them. Executives also highlighted using RFID tags on items at more stores to improve accuracy and speed of service. And
yes,
is this connection between supply chain and CX efficiencies at Nordstrom's real? Or is it just PR window dressing? What is your take there? And Nordstrom in the news today, by the way.
I know.
Holy cow.
Yeah, the family's trying to take it back.
Yeah.
Okay, well, no, I have to say it's 100% real. I think
100%. Wow. Okay.
Everything comes down to, as a consumer, can I get the product that I want where you say I can get it and when I say I can get it? And I think that it's all it all depends on whether or not you have this inventory visibility. When I was at the Scanned It and Power event last week, I was talking to retailers from Walmart all the way down to Crate and Barrel, and we did this really cool experiment, I guess, where we were looking at a timeline on a sheet of paper. And of all those retailers, the majority of them are focused on getting better inventory visibility as the technology that they're going to invest in now, in the now, next, and future. That's what they're trying to get a handle on because of all the impact it has down the line. And of course, at the customer level, at the very end of it. I think the last point I'd make is that I think this also helps with Nordstrom when you're looking at one of their biggest growth channels being Nordstrom Rack stores. I think when you have RFID and inventory visibility and you can start to get down to being able to identify where those objects are at the Nordstrom Rack level too, and being able to give consumers a better experience both in those Rack stores and at the Nordstrom, the department stores, I think that's a lot of power that they'll have in their hands that they wouldn't have had before. And it might take a while to see that trickle down effect, but still, I think that making the investment upstream will have a huge impact for all of the Nordstrom consumers.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. The Nordstrom Racks idea is interesting. Yeah, definitely a different matzo ball to try to get off the ground. I don't know if I'd say 100%. I think I'd probably
Okay.
disagree with you there. I think I almost think in the line of business we're in and covering the headlines like we do, almost very rarely is anything ever 100% the true story, right? As we've talked about. But I think retail is detail. That's what you're getting at here. And
Yeah.
headlines like this bring this to life. The examples you shared at the Scan It event also do. So I believe it's real for the most part. And Nordstrom, I'll say too, Nordstrom, as evidenced by the fact that they're trying to take their company private, Nordstrom doesn't play the BS angle all that often. Like, I don't think we've ever called BS on Nordstrom in a headline before, So I think like you said,
maybe for the tonal partnership. I was not on board with that.
Well, that was just a bad idea. That was just a bad idea, right? Yeah. But they were honest about doing it, but it wasn't just a bad idea.
Yes.
But I think inventory does make your search better. It enables your employees to save, to serve your customers better and to save time. And so the virtuous effects of just having good inventory are endless. I mean, it goes back to things we've been stumping for 10 years on Omni Talk, like inventory accuracy is key to being a good omni-channel retailer. Great item data is as well. So but I think the last thing I make, just a personal plug here, kudos to my former HBS classmate and good friend, Alexis Dupree, who's the chief supply chain officer at Nordstrom too. I imagine she's taking a lot of pride in this announcement, and her team have done a lot of great work in pulling this off for Nordstrom too. So Ben, what do you think though? Are you buying this, or are you more skeptical? Going to throw some English pessimism in here? What's the word?
And I think you say retail's detail. I think some really nice little bits of detail in what they've shared. So, for example, they talk about improving their returns process to get products back on the shelf better, to improve their in-stock availability. I think that's really, because that says to me, actually, they've got some really strong disciplines in inventory. They're not over ordering. They're not losing track of where things are. So yeah, there's some evidence. They talk about e-com delivery times have been improved by their RFID. There's some nice operational process disciplines. There's obviously the for me shines a light on, if I would summarize the press release, it's kind of retailer does good retailing and gets good results. And I think that's a really nice, a really nice place to be.
Theme of the show so far, really.
Yeah, I mean, look, Nordstrom's have been the standout department store results this quarter. I mean, look, they're not supersonic, but sales, footfall, and margins are all up. And it's a story we're just not seeing in any of the other major department stores that have reported in the last week or so. Mm-hmm. And I was debating this one through with Joe Laszlo, of the Shop.com team last night. And he was making the point, which I thought was really interesting, that we're seeing a set of results this go around where actually good retailers are delivering positive results, and where there's challenges, it's often down to maybe the retailer isn't doing. We've had so many cycles of the tide lifting all boats, whether it's COVID or whether it's the e-com bubble or whether it's inflation. But this feels like decent retailing, unlocking results. And you look at, I think you guys talked about the Lululemon results. They didn't get their merchandising quite right this quarter, and the marketing wasn't quite connected, and the results aren't quite there. So you're kind of starting to understand the retailers a little bit more than just general tides that are moving the industry. And I think kudos to the Nordstrom team off the back of that.
That's a great way to wrap it up, Ben. Let's go next on to headline number 5. Instacart this past week announced aggressive price savings of $0 delivery fees on next day grocery orders over $10. According to an Instacart press release, the next day delivery option waives the fee, which is right now a $7.99 value, but is not applicable to orders from convenience, club, alcohol, and dollar stores. Chris, let's get your quick take on this. How significant do you feel Instacart's waiving of fees on next day orders is?
I actually think this is very significant. I think it's telling for a number of reasons. I think one, I read this I read this a little bit in Instacart's business model. I read it as their core same day model may be continuing to struggle. So Instacart is trying to goose up new volume. And to do so, they're playing on what we've talked about long and hard over the past 2 years. And that is the hurdle of just getting in my car and going to the local grocery store, which aside from a tank of gas is basically free. Like, it doesn't
Yes.
cost me anything. So I think
Yeah.
that's a part of this. I really do. And so now Instacart's trying to take a page out of Bunch's book, like we've talked a lot about on this show, and trying to get consumers to essentially batch order groceries in advance, and therefore lowering the operating costs for an Instacart. You know, that's the whole idea here. And we've seen this in Europe, so I can't wait to get Ben's take on it too. And so, as we've long predicted, I think lowering costs in this way for customers that don't need their grocery orders same day is probably a trend we're going to start to see more of here in the States. And so that is interesting in and of itself to me, that this could be the start of a trend if Instacart gets behind it. But the other thing is, this also flies in the face of Amazon's grocery strategy. We go back to the top headline, flies squarely in the face of that and their recently announced grocery subscription. So why am I paying for this if I can just delay my orders if I don't need same day? It just seems like that's a whole nother topic. But so yeah, for those reasons, I think it's very significant.
Ben, what about you? Do you agree with Chris?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think this is really significant, and there's loads to unpick and loads to try and understand about it. So I guess, like, as succinctly as I can, you know, it's a benefit that was available to the Instacart Plus holders, but he's now saying, actually, for everybody, you just want to wait till tomorrow, no charge. That's huge.
Not even tomorrow. Like, I looked yesterday, and you could even have like the evening. If you look in the morning, you could even have evening delivery.
Super safe. I mean, you've still got to pay the service charge. You've still got to tip your driver.
You do, yeah.
There's still 20% that's 15-20% going to be added on to your bill. So it's not free. As you say, there's certain channels where you can't do it. So you can't get your cigarettes and alcohol, but you can get your regular shopping basket. Yeah, and that's what Instacart needs to build volume for. I mean, the head shrinker for me on the whole thing is how they're making any money out of this.
Right.
Same thing. So,
yes. And look, I've got so Fiji Simo, the Instacart chair and CEO, is going to be joining us to do one of the keynotes at Groceryshop next month. I've got the privilege of doing that one, and I will 100% be asking her, because, you know, are they going to be taking this off the customers? So are we going to see service charges creep up, the item margins creep up, or are they going to be driving this lost money through trade? So
that's the question that I have, Ben, because I think, I mean, if you look at what they're doing, they also announced that they're bringing the digital circulars onto the platform. So I think the customer experience of shopping that is very different too. Like, now when I pull up my Instacart app, I see all the things and I can order from a variety of different retailers. And so I think that there's a lot going into that I have to imagine that that's coming into play here to make this pencil. But Chris,
so is it at the point where, you know, the retail media revenue is generating this flywheel, the adjacent revenues, you know, the cable cars being sold over the connected store, is that enabling them to invest back into the core retail business to lower the price to customers? And if that's the case, that's going to be really interesting, going back to what you were saying about Amazon earlier, Chris.
Yeah, I didn't think about the retail media angle here too. God, this is a very significant story when you just think of all the different angles we've talked about thus far. And yeah, the question for me is that enough to cover the costs? I have no idea the scale, you know, depending on what that ultimately looks like in the long run, because no one's ever tried this before either. So
especially when you're losing that recurring monthly subscription revenue or annual subscription revenue that this is now offered to anyone. Like, I think that to me is like,
it's kind of risky too. Yeah, you're right.
The set it and forget it thing that you take advantage of here with people who, you know, subscribed and are used to getting these benefits, but now anyone can just jump on the platform. So
the other question it raises for me, and too, is like, what becomes but just to go on to this, because I think it's fascinating, like, what becomes the standard, right? We had 2-day shipping as the standard, but now what is the standard for grocery delivery? Is it like I wait 3 days to get my order and I don't pay anything extra? Is it a day? You know, how does this all level out? I have no idea what that's going to look like, but I imagine we're not far off from seeing that here in the States.
And a great use case for things like AI to try to help with loading and trying to like do that, like the sliding scale, even if I'm ordering, and like if I order in the next 2 hours and I'm going to batch it I can get it at this time for this price, like being able to lever that up and down is
okay.
possible.
And then, oh my God, you're going to have to stop me, because then we go into, once we level set the consumer expectation, what's the best way to operate that? Do you have your own W-2 drivers? Are you doing this with gig workers? Like, those are all the questions that are still outstanding oh man, this is great.
Yeah. All right, you guys, Let's go to the lightning round. Ben, you get the first question here. As someone who spends a lot of time in Vegas and will for Groceryshop in just 4 weeks, is there any like guilty Vegas pleasure that you allow yourself while you're there? Is it like hitting the blackjack tables? Is it food? Is it something else? Like, what do you do while you're there to treat yourself?
Oh man, I mean, because my Vegas experience is usually so different to everybody else's, where it's kind of working every hour that I'm
That's an
awake
understatement.
and jet lagged.
Right.
So the number one guilty pleasure is the 6 a.m. Starbucks in the Mandalay Bay that by the shop entrance. It's the only one that opens at 6 a.m. and you can get there first in the queue. But you know, the thing that we look forward to, it's a bit of a tradition when the show closes. Yeah. Everyone's gone, fingers crossed, things go well. Bit of karaoke, bit of a hair down. Usually it's a late night, early morning in eye candy. That's the guilty pleasure.
At eye candy, that's where you guys go. Nice.
That's Chris's spot.
Yeah, that's where I had my reception dinner at that's where before my wedding. That's where we all went. Yeah, that's crazy. Wow, eye candy. Good call out. Ben, actually, you're getting all the lightning round questions today because you are our guest. And so here's the next one. Gordon's, the fish stick company, has released a new line of apparel that, according to Fast Company, is doing quite well. Well being the operative word. Being that you hail from the birthplace of fish and chips, where do you come down on the frozen fish stick? And is a frozen fish stick better with or without mushy peas?
I mean, look, the second one's easy. Anything is better with mushy peas.
100%. 100%. No truer statement has ever been made on this show.
And fish, look, as a Brit, frozen fish sticks are clearly every which way wrong. But, you know,
yes, they're awesome.
Time and a place.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, my friend, wholeheartedly.
All right, Ben, next question. You travel to a lot of grocers and see a lot of grocery-related technology to bring the very best of the best content to Groceryshop. I want to know, what's the most remarkable thing that you've seen in the field in your last few months of research?
I get really privileged in that sometimes I get into stores, into the back end of stores and see things that are new. I had the opportunity to spend a whole day in the back office of a Tesco extra store in the UK last week and spent a lot of time with their micro fulfillment. And you know, micro fulfillment is an industry having a challenge at the moment. If you look at the suppliers, you know, look at the challenge that Takeoff's having, etc. So Tesco investing and opening new micro fulfillment is pretty remarkable. It was a kind of a real kind of listen up moment for me and for the industry. And I've got a bit more to share on that, but not until next week, I'm afraid.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear more about that. Oh my God. Yeah. For every trend, there's a counter trend, and those that play the counter trends right tend to win in the long run. All right. So speaking of Vegas, bringing this home to Vegas one more time, Adele ended her Vegas run and reportedly told fans that they won't see her again for a, quote, incredibly long time. Ben, how saddened are you by this Adele news?
I think that's fine with me. She's no rock and roll star.
You're not celebrating Adele's entire collection, Ben?
It doesn't get a lot of play on my Spotify.
Whoa! All right.
Wow.
I see where you stand, Ben. There might be a lot of Adele fans coming for you, but
exactly. I know she's electric for lots of people, but it's not my particular cup of gravy.
Especially for a country brethren. Wow, love the honesty and the forthrightness. All right. Well, happy birthday today to Damon Wayans, Kyle Mooney, and to the man who for a brief moment in time was the funniest man on TV as Schmidt in New Girl, Max Greenfield. And remember, if you can only read or listen to one retail blog in the business, make it Omni Talk, the only retail media outlet run by two former executives from a current top 10 U.S. retailer. Our Fast Five podcast is the quickest, fastest rundown of all the week's top news. And our daily newsletter, the Retail Daily Minute, tells you all you need to know each day to stay on top of your game as a retail executive, and also regularly features exclusive content that we make just for you. And Ann and I take a ton of pride in doing that for you. So thanks as always for listening in. Please remember to like and leave us a review wherever you happen to listen to your podcast or on YouTube. You can follow us today by simply going to youtube.com/OmniTalkRetail, and you can watch this interview in full. Ben, any parting words about Groceryshop before we let you go?
Tickets are on sale, selling fast. We'll be closing for the meetups really soon. So groceryshop.com, if you haven't already signed up, we've still got some of the hosted VIP spaces for retailer and brands. Look, it was great to talk tonight. I'm going to slide away now and look forward to seeing you all in Las Vegas next month.
All right. All right. Well, thank you, Ben. And on behalf of Ben Miller of Shop Talk /Grocery Shop, thanks for being with us. And on behalf of Ann, myself, and the entire Omni Talk crew, as always, be careful out there.